Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all here tonight. Welcome to our prayer meeting. I love being here with you. Thank you for being here. And thank you for joining us if you're on the live stream. I talk to a lot of people every day at my job. It's just people all day, every day. I meet probably 5 new people every day at my job, which is amazing. It's great. I love it. I love people. But one thing that I notice a lot, because the vast majority of the people that I meet don't know the Lord, one thing that I find over and over and over again as I talk with them about their finances is that people are afraid. People have a lot of fears because, for the most part, our world has no real hope. I was talking with my discipleship group on Sunday, the guys I disciple with, that we were talking about the difference between worldly hope and biblical hope, and how in the Bible the word hope means a confident expectation, and it usually has to do with something God has promised. And so my mind has been kind of rattling around with that recently, and I just wanted to point us to a promise of the Lord in Isaiah chapter 26, where Isaiah reflects in response to God. He says, "You keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you." My friend, if you trust the Lord tonight, if you are a believer and you trust God and you fix your mind on him, the result inevitably is peace. Real peace, not the kind of peace that the world gives, as Jesus said, "Do I give you? My peace I give you." I'm so grateful for that. I don't know about you. Let's turn and sing about that as we reflect on it. Hymn number 165, "How Can I Fear?" with Jesus. Let's all stand together as we sing all 3 verses. When shadows fall and the night covers all, there are things that my eyes cannot see. I'll never fear, for the Savior is near. My Lord abides with me. all your cares upon him because he cares for you. You may be seated. Before Pastor Jim comes up, I was reminded by Pastor John to ask if anyone is planning to sing in the funeral on Friday. Please stick around after the service tonight. There's a little bit of setup we got to do, and then also we'd like to run through the hymns that will be sung during that service. We're going to do a little 4-part harmony up here to lead the congregational. So if you're singing in that, stick around tonight. We'll run through a couple of hymns. All right, thank you, Pastor Jim. PSA over.
I also have a couple of announcements. Anybody who is able to stay afterwards and help set up for the funeral meal over in the education building, that would be greatly appreciated. The teens are going to be there to help, but they would appreciate more help if possible. And then seniors, this was supposed to be announced Sunday, but it slipped in between the cracks. We are still planning the Dells trip August 24th. So I need to know who all is planning on going so we can make arrangements. But we'll meet at the church 9 o'clock, 24th. Upper Dells boat trip, and any details, see me. Okay, Proverbs chapter 3, verses that I hope all of you have memorized. Verses 5 and 6. And Dan, that verse you shared took me back about 45 years. As a young preacher, I was struggling, as young preachers often tend to do, and an older preacher down the road a little bit referred me to that verse. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. If our mind is stayed on our troubles, guess what? That peace kind of goes away. Okay, Proverbs chapter 3, and it's still the same handout. The extra, we're not in the booklet, we're in the handout. If you didn't get a copy of it last week, or you forgot to bring yours, there's some in the back there. I'm going to do a little bit of review, Roman numeral 1, and that's as far as we got last week. So we're talking about decisions that we have to make. And remember the poem by Robert Frost that I read about two roads diverging in a woods. Both of them looked equally interesting, and he took one because he couldn't take both. And he hoped that maybe someday he could come back and take the other, but life just usually doesn't work out that way. And so the idea of the poem was we make decisions. We come to crossroads in our lives. We come to crossroads in our lives oftentimes that change the entire direction of our lives. And could somebody give me one illustration from your own life about a decision that you made that completely changed the direction of your life? Anybody?
Decided to be a missionary.
Wow, that's a big change. Okay. Thank you. That's a good example. Anybody think of any others? Dan?
My first college summer, I decided to travel for Maranatha. I was selected. And 80 churches, 80 concerts, 13 weeks, 15,000 miles. Just the most amazing travel experience of my life. And I got to see how a lot of people do church. It gave me a lot of perspective.
I'm sure it did. What an education in itself. Anybody else think of anything? Joseph, your life could have gone a different direction. Was there any other way you were kind of leaning toward before that?
Not really.
Not really? Weren't really sure? Okay. Can you see far enough down the road to know what that is going, how that decision is going to lead? No, you can't. We make the choice, but we do not know the consequences. And sometimes it's two choices that could be equally, like the two roads in the woods. One of the most dramatic to me is, I'm not going to tell you the long story, just the short story, but I'd only been saved a short time. I mean, just weeks. And I decided to go to Pillsbury Baptist Bible College. That college doesn't exist anymore, but back then it was a very good college. And I was all set to go. And my stepmother said, well, there's a new school that just opened a couple of years ago, and it's closer to home. Why don't you go try it out? My dad and I traveled there. Guess where it was? Maranatha. and a totally unimpressive tour of the campus. It was much different then than it is now. And so I decided I didn't know how to find God's will. So, okay, I'll go there. Now, how has that changed my life? Somebody tell me one big way that changed my life. I would have never met Linda. And Joseph, you would not even exist. And 7 kids, not 20 grandkids. So we have these decisions in our life. And I'll do a little bit of review. Before I do, let's read the verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Now, at this point in my life, I had no idea how to find out God's will. And I guess I leaned to my own understanding, but God overrode that because he knew. So last week, we looked at basically Roman numeral 1. Decisions that we have to make, consequences that we cannot foresee. Trust in the Lord. It's first of all a trust that is entire. First part of verse 5, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. My dependency is to trust in the Lord. I have to trust in something or someone. Now, we came up with a few examples of things that people trust in. And in retrospect, I wish I had mentioned more, but I get a chance to do that now. So does anybody else think of any things that people tend to trust in? Everybody's got to trust in something or someone. So what would be some examples of things that people would commonly trust in? Money. Big smile back there. Yeah, I mean, it says in God we trust on the bill, but oftentimes people are trusting on the bill rather than the God. Anything else? Okay, here are a few of my, yes. Yeah, trust in the job for income. It recently occurred to me that part of the Lord's Prayer, model prayer, was give us this day our daily bread. And our refrigerator is full and our freezer is full, so how do you trust in the Lord for daily bread? And I think I might have mentioned this last week, and we talked about it. What I learned, how I learned to pray that prayer is my dependency ought not to be on what I have. My dependency ought to be on the God who provides it. It could be taken away tomorrow morning. All that could be gone. So people trust in their doctor. Are doctors always right? No. People trust in a mechanic. Are mechanics always right? Unfortunately not, and it might cost you more because of that. Some people are going to trust in their preacher. Well, that's what my preacher says, and so that's what I believe. Or that's what my church says, and so that's what I believe. Some people trust in a man called Charles Darwin, founder of evolution. Many people are trusting in that wrong, false doctrine. Some people trust in their horoscope. I just heard a preacher, was it today? I think it was today. He was getting a haircut and he noticed that the barber's keychain had a rabbit foot on it. Anybody know what a rabbit foot's for? It's supposed to be good luck. And so he asked it was a lady barber, he asked her, why do you have a rabbit's foot? She said, well, it's for good luck. And the preacher said, well, it wasn't very good luck for the rabbit. Why would it be good luck for you? And he said, oh no. Some people are very superstitious. I remember a story my grandma told about they were expecting company, and they didn't come and didn't come and didn't come, and they lived out in the country. Finally, they showed up. And they said, the reason why we're so late is because a black cat crossed the road in front of us. Now, in the country, you don't just go around the block. Trust in superstitions. And some people trust in their friends, whatever their friends has to say. But we need to, of course, place our trust in the Lord. The first step in obtaining God's guidance is to trust Him, and that should be a given. But do we always trust the Lord? Even though we might have prayed it through, are we still trusting the Lord that He's going to show us the right decision to make? Sometimes it just kind of, we just don't have a clue. And so we just have to ask the Lord, Lord, please, you show me. You show me what you want me to do here. Sometimes we don't like the reasoning behind the advice we're given. I gave the example of the J.W. mechanic. I did not follow his advice. And so do you really trust the Lord? Do you believe He really can help you? Do you believe He really will help you? And do you believe His way will be the best? I think intellectually we do, but emotionally, are we always really trusting in the Lord? So that was my dependency. B was my devotion. With all your heart, my heart has to be a trust, my trust has to be a heart trust. It must be with all my heart. I gave the example of the lady that, okay, I'm not going to talk about that again. Hopefully you remember it from last week. There's a big difference between believing and trusting. So fully believe that He is able to do what needs to be done. He is wise enough to do what is best, and He is loving enough to do it in the best way. That's as far as we got last time. Rule number 2, then, a trust that is exclusive. It is a total commitment, if you will. And lean not to thine own understanding. There's a command to obey. Do not lean on your own understanding. Why? Why can we not lean on our own understanding?
It's faulty. It's faulty.
And why is it faulty?
Marred by sin.
Jeremiah chapter, where is it? 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Okay, what would be some other reasons why? Linda?
We're not omniscient.
Yeah.
We know everything.
We know so very little, and we cannot look into the future. If I understand God correctly, He's timeless, and so there is no future for God. It's just always now. Try to wrap your mind around that, and that might not even be the case, but it seems like it to me. There's so much we don't know, and we don't know, having made this decision, really what the consequences are going to be. We might know to some degree. But I think, was it Andrea that gave me really the best answer? The heart is deceitful. And we must live with the decisions that we make, and sometimes for a long, long time. How about this one? An unwise financial decision can plunge us into debt, and it might take years, even decades, to dig ourselves out of that hole. Can anybody think of any other wrong decisions that we might have to live with for a long, long time?
Making your decision on marriage on your own feeling of love.
Okay? Marry the wrong person?
Going into business with the wrong person.
Okay, that's another good example. There are all kinds of, I think every one of us can think back on our lives to some really bad decisions that we made. Sometimes they change our lives dramatically in the wrong direction. Somebody mentioned God knows everything that we can't possibly know, and so we try to look down that path, but we can't because of the bends. James said it this way, chapter 4, 13 through 14. Go to now, you that say, today or tomorrow we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even as a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away. We can't look around the corners, but guess what? God can. He not only knows the past, he not only knows the present, but he knows the future. What's a good reason why we know that he knows the future? You're holding it. Think of all the fulfilled prophecies. God told about a man named Cyrus, I think it was a couple hundred years before he was even born, and told what Cyrus would do. The book of Daniel, amazing, precise prophecies that have been fulfilled. God can see around the corners. God knows the future. And so, certainly, we ought to trust him. It's a command to obey. This is not a request, it's a command. But then there's a clarification to observe. Lean not to thine own understanding, but is there a word there that we see over and over and over in the book of Proverbs? In that phrase I just read?
Understanding.
Understanding. And in what sense does understanding appear in the book of Proverbs? As a very desirable thing, something to seek for. Understanding is one of the major things that the book of Proverbs talks about. Wisdom, knowledge, understanding. It talks about obviously other things too that Dan and I will go through oftentimes topically as we work our way through this study. But do we have a kind of a problem here? We're not to lean into our own understanding, yet we are to gain understanding. We are to seek for it and search for it, just like wisdom and knowledge. The key is the word own. It does not mean do not develop your understanding. For instance, Proverbs 1, verse 2, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding. This is one of the goals of the entire book. Chapter 2, verse 2, so that thou incline thine ear to wisdom and apply thine heart to understanding. Chapter 4, verse 5, get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Proverbs 4, 7, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. So certainly, verse 5 is not implying that we should not develop our understanding. But then we dare not lean on it. We need to acknowledge that even the most understanding person has severe limitations. Proverbs 14:12, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So picture the guy back in the woods again. This way seems to be the right way. And oftentimes, when people are leaning to their own understanding, they are going to make the wrong choice over and over again. Might get lucky and make the right choice sometime, but that way that seems right. Let's not lean to our own understanding. Let's go on and in all our ways acknowledge him. So we need to mistrust our own perception of what's best in many issues of life, sometimes just basic things, basic day-to-day decisions, more so in life-changing type of decisions where the way that seems right, not good enough. Following the advice of these two, the instruction of these two, it's a trust that is entire. It's a trust that is exclusive. And thirdly, it is a trust that is exhaustive. The first part of verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him. The Hebrew word for acknowledge simply means know. So think that through. In all your ways, know him. What would that imply? How could we put that in different words? In all your ways, know him.
The thought that comes to mind, for me, as a married person, every time I'm about to make a decision, I take into account what my wife would think. And so I kind of think that's the idea, that it's as if every decision we make, God is in the room watching. And I want to keep in mind his opinion.
Okay, good, good. Linda?
To recognize his character, his
Yeah.
ways,
Yeah,
and his truth.
yeah, yeah. Let's go back to Dan's illustration. You're making a decision and you want to make sure that it will be a good decision, not only for you, but for your wife. How would you know unless you knew your wife? In all your ways, know him, know her. Then you can make that decision. And so, yeah, you put those two together. And so the better we know God, the better qualified we are to make the right choice, to trust him with all our heart, to not lean into our own understanding. In all our ways, know him. Know that he loves you. Know that he's holy. Know that he's just. Know that he's merciful, that he's forgiving, and on and on and on. The better we know God, the better we can make those kind of life-changing decisions with his enablement. So, another aspect, I think, of the know is acknowledge his lordship in every area of your life. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, know him. Acknowledge his lordship in every aspect of your life. We don't have the right to just make decisions on our own. Now, obviously, some of them are, what pair of socks am I going to wear today? Something like, that's silly. But we're talking about decisions that are important decisions that we make on a regular basis, even on a daily basis. Acknowledge his lordship in every area of your life. Psalm 46:10a, be still and know that I am God. I think that's the same thought. Know that I'm God. What right do we have to make decisions on our own? That's a definition, and then a description. We need to own that his is an overruling hand in all our affairs. What Christian in their right mind would not want God's will? That's one of the things I pray for on a regular basis. Lord, show me your will. Show me how you want me to live, how you want me to serve you, your will in every area of our lives. We need to learn to take every care to him for counsel. We need to ask his leave in all that we do. We need to maintain a constant consciousness of his presence. And then I'll have to close with a quote from Charles Bridges because I'm out of time already. It is nothing less than self-idolatry to conceive that we can carry on even the ordinary matters of the day without his counsel. I'll read that again. It is nothing less than self-idolatry to conceive that we can carry on even the ordinary matters of the day without his counsel. Now, what we're going to see next week is a trust that is entire and a trust that is exclusive and a trust that is exhaustive will become a trust that is experienced. But we don't have time for that tonight. Any comments, questions before we close? Okay, I have a couple of prayer requests I'd like to mention. Again, remember, if you can help set up afterwards, that would be appreciated.